The call came 3 days before my MBA graduation from Stanford. "Alexandra, honey, we have a problem." Mom's voice carried that apologetic tone I'd learned to dread over the years. I was in my Palo Alto apartment, reviewing the final details for the donation ceremony that would take place during graduation. As the anonymous founder of Aurora Ventures, a biotech investment firm worth over $400 million, I'd decided it was time to give back to the institution that had shaped my business thinking. "What kind of problem, Mom?" "Well, you know your cousin Jessica is getting engaged this weekend, right?" "Jessica." My 25-year-old cousin who had dropped out of college twice and was now working as a social media influencer with 12,000 followers. The family's current golden child because she'd managed to snag a boyfriend with a trust fund. I heard something about that, yes. The engagement party is Saturday at the country club. The whole family is going to be there. Your Aunt Patricia flew in from Denver. Uncle Robert is driving up from Phoenix. It's going to be such a beautiful celebration. My stomach sank. "Mom, my graduation is Saturday." "Oh honey, I know, and we feel terrible about this. But Jessica only gets engaged once and family has to support family, right? And I only graduate from Stanford once. Sweetie, you'll understand when you're older. Jessica needs the family there for her big moment. Your graduation is wonderful, of course, but it's just a ceremony. You already have your degree." I walked to my window overlooking the Stanford campus, the place where I'd spent 2 years not just earning an MBA, but building the relationships and knowledge that had helped me grow Aurora Ventures from a small investment fund into a major player in biotech financing. "So none of you are coming to my graduation." "We'll be there in spirit. And we'll take you out for a nice dinner next week to celebrate properly." "Mom, I'm giving the student address at graduation. I'm speaking to the entire graduating class." "That's wonderful, dear. We'll have Jessica live stream the engagement party so you can feel like you're part of the family celebration too." I almost laughed at the irony. "You want me to watch Jessica's engagement party while I'm giving my graduation speech?" "Well, not during your speech, obviously. But afterwards." Jessica said she'd make sure to get footage of the whole party. After hanging up, I sat in my apartment thinking about the pattern that had defined my relationship with my family for years. Every achievement I'd earned, scholarships, academic honors, business success, had been overshadowed by whatever cousin was doing something the family considered more important. When I'd graduated summa cum laude from UC Berkeley, the family had skipped my ceremony to attend my cousin Mark's community college graduation party. When I'd been featured in Forbes' 30 Under 30 list for my work in biotech investing, the family dinner conversation had focused entirely on Jessica's new Instagram sponsorship deal. What my family didn't know was that the small investment job they thought I had was actually a biotech venture capital firm that I'd founded with profits from an early investment in a promising gene therapy startup. Aurora Ventures now managed over $400 million in assets and had funded 12 companies that were revolutionizing medical treatment. They also didn't know that I'd been planning to announce a major donation to Stanford during graduation, a $200 million gift to establish the Aurora Institute for Biotech Innovation, which would fund research into treatments for rare diseases. I'd kept my success quiet partly out of habit and partly because every time I tried to share professional achievements with my family, the conversation had immediately shifted to someone else's news. Eventually I'd stopped trying to explain what I was building. But this time felt different. This time, their choice to prioritize Jessica's engagement party over my Stanford MBA graduation wasn't just disappointing, it was revealing. I called Dean Harrison's office. "Ms. Zhang, how can I help you?" "Dean Harrison, I wanted to confirm the details for Saturday's donation ceremony. Will it be part of the graduation livestream?" "Absolutely. The ceremony will be broadcast live on the university website and social media channels. This is such a significant gift. I expect it will generate quite a bit of media attention." "Perfect. And the announcement will include the donor's name." "Yes, as we discussed, you've decided to step forward as the public face of Aurora Ventures. The announcement will identify you as both the founder of Aurora Ventures and the donor of the Aurora Institute." "Excellent. Dean Harrison, can I ask a favor?" "Of course. When you make the announcement, could you mention that this donation represents not just an investment in Stanford's future, but a celebration of how education can transform lives? I'd like it to be clear that this gift comes from someone who believes in the power of family support and institutional excellence working together." That's a beautiful sentiment. I'll make sure to include that. Saturday morning, I put on my graduation gown and walked across campus to the ceremony. The auditorium was packed with families celebrating their graduates, and I tried not to think about the empty seats where my parents, brother, and extended family should have been sitting. I took my place with the other MBA graduates and watched as families filled the auditorium with flowers, cameras, and proud smiles. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "OMG, the country club is so beautiful. Wish you could be here." 2 hearts. The ceremony began with the usual speeches and recognitions. I delivered my student address about the responsibility that comes with business education and the importance of using success to create opportunity for others. As I spoke, I could see Dean Harrison in the wings, holding a large ceremonial check. After the academic recognitions were complete, Dean Harrison took the podium. "Before we conclude today's ceremony, I have a very special announcement to make. Stanford has received the largest single donation in our business school's history, a gift that will transform how we approach biotech innovation and rare disease research." He gestured for me to join him on stage, and I walked over, trying to ignore the butterflies in my stomach. "We are honored to accept a $200 million donation to establish the Aurora Institute for Biotech Innovation. This unprecedented gift comes from someone who embodies the Stanford spirit of excellence, innovation, and service to humanity." I could see people in the audience starting to pay closer attention, phones coming out to record what was clearly a significant moment. The donor is not just a Stanford alumna, but a pioneering entrepreneur who has built one of the most successful biotech investment firms in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Alexandra Zhang, founder and CEO of Aurora Ventures, for her extraordinary generosity. The auditorium erupted in applause as Dean Harrison handed me the ceremonial check. I looked out at the crowd of families celebrating their graduates and felt a moment of sadness that my own family had chosen to be elsewhere. Ms. Zhang has asked me to share that this donation represents her belief in the power of education to transform lives, and her hope that the Aurora Institute will create treatments that give hope to families facing rare diseases. This gift celebrates the importance of family support and institutional excellence working together. As I accepted the check and waved to the crowd, I noticed several people in the audience taking photos and videos. In the age of social media, I knew this moment would be shared widely within hours. After the ceremony, I was surrounded by classmates, faculty, and reporters wanting to know more about Aurora Ventures and the donation. I spent an hour answering questions about biotech investing, the future of rare disease research, and my plans for the Aurora Institute. My phone had been buzzing constantly during the interviews, but I hadn't had a chance to check it. Finally, during a brief break, I looked at my messages. The first was from my brother Kevin. "Alex, are you on TV right now? Someone at the party just showed us a live stream of your graduation and you're giving away $200 million? The second was from my mom. "Alexandra, we need to talk. Your father just saw a news article about you donating money to Stanford. How much money do you have?" The third was from Jessica. "OMG Alex, everyone at my party is talking about you instead of my engagement. Why didn't you tell us you were rich?" I scrolled through dozens more messages from relatives, family, friends, and people I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, news of the donation had spread quickly through social media, and multiple family members had shared the Stanford livestream at Jessica's engagement party. My phone rang. It was my mother. "Alexandra, what is going on? We just watched you give Stanford $200 million on live television." "I donated money to establish a research institute, yes. But where did you get $200 million? What kind of work do you actually do?" I walked across campus toward my car, tired after the long day and not particularly interested in explaining my career to people who had skipped my graduation to attend a party. "I own an investment firm, Mom." "I told you that. But you said it was small. You said you worked in finance." "I said I worked in venture capital focusing on biotech investments. Aurora Ventures manages over $400 million in assets." $400 million? Her voice was faint. "Alexandra, are you telling me you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars?" "My personal net worth is approximately $280 million, yes. But you live in that tiny apartment. You drive an old car. You never act like you have money." "I live in a 1,200 square foot apartment in Palo Alto because it's close to work and meets my needs." I drive a reliable car because I care more about functionality than status symbols. And I don't act like I have money, because my wealth doesn't define my personality. Why didn't you tell us? I stopped walking and looked back at the Stanford campus, at the buildings and programs that had shaped my thinking about business, innovation, and social responsibility. When exactly would I have told you, Mom? During the family dinners where conversation focuses entirely on Jessica's Instagram posts? During the holiday gatherings where my business updates get interrupted so everyone can hear about Mark's new job? We would have listened if we knew it was important. Everything I've achieved has been important. You just never bothered to ask follow-up questions or show genuine interest in what I was building. My father's voice joined the call. Alexandra, we're leaving Jessica's party right now. We need to talk about this. You're leaving the engagement party? Yes, we're driving back to the city tonight. Can we meet for dinner? I thought about their request. 6 hours ago, they couldn't be bothered to attend my MBA graduation because Jessica's party was more important. Now suddenly they wanted to rush back for family time because they'd discovered I was wealthy. I'm not available tonight. I have plans with my classmates to celebrate our graduation. Tomorrow then? We'll drive down to Palo Alto. Why the sudden urgency to see me? Because we just learned that our daughter is incredibly successful and we missed her graduation to attend a party, Mom said, her voice breaking. Because we made a terrible mistake and we want to make it right. You made a choice based on your priorities, Mom. Jessica's engagement party was more important to you than my Stanford graduation. That choice revealed something important about how you see me and my achievements. We didn't know your graduation was such a big deal. It was my MBA graduation from Stanford where I was giving the student address. How was that not a big deal? Dad's voice was quiet. We thought it was just another graduation ceremony. We didn't realize you were. We didn't understand what you'd accomplished. That's exactly the problem. You didn't ask. You didn't try to understand. You just assumed my achievements were less important than Jessica's social events. Alexandra, what can we do to fix this? I got into my car and sat for a moment thinking about their question. I don't know if you can fix it, Dad. This isn't just about missing my graduation. This is about years of treating my success as background noise while celebrating everyone else's minor milestones. But we're proud of you. We've always been proud. Have you? Because your actions suggest otherwise. When I was featured in Forbes, you spent dinner talking about Jessica's sponsored post. When I won the Stanford Entrepreneurship Award, you changed the subject to Mark's promotion at his accounting firm. Mom was crying now. We didn't realize we were doing that. That's the problem, you weren't paying attention. You made assumptions about what my career meant and what my achievements were worth, and you never bothered to verify those assumptions. How do we show you that we want to pay attention now? I started my car and began driving back to my apartment, where I planned to change clothes and meet my classmates for a celebration dinner that would actually focus on our achievements instead of being overshadowed by someone else's news. I don't know, Mom. But I know that it can't start with you suddenly being interested in my life because you discovered I have money. If you want to rebuild our relationship, it has to be because you value me as a person, not because you're impressed by my net worth. We do value you as a person. Then prove it. Figure out how to show genuine interest in my life, my work, my goals, and my achievements without needing a $200 million donation to get your attention. After hanging up, I drove through Palo Alto thinking about the strange dynamics of family recognition. 4 years I'd built a successful company, funded breakthrough medical research, and earned recognition in my field, but none of that had seemed to matter to my family. It took a public donation ceremony broadcast on live television to get them to take my career seriously. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Alex, I'm so sorry we didn't come to your graduation. I had no idea you were so successful. Can we talk? I typed back, congratulations on your engagement, Jessica. Enjoy your party. At dinner with my Stanford classmates, I found myself surrounded by people who understood the work I'd been doing, who appreciated the significance of building a biotech investment firm, and who saw the Aurora Institute donation as both a generous gift and a smart investment in future innovation. Alexandra, my friend Michael raised his glass, to someone who's been quietly changing the world while the rest of us were just trying to graduate. As we toasted, I felt something I hadn't experienced with my family in years, genuine recognition, authentic celebration, and the sense that my achievements mattered to the people around me. My phone continued buzzing with messages from family members who had suddenly discovered my success, but I put it on silent. Tonight was about celebrating with people who had known all along that I was building something significant, even when my own family couldn't be bothered to pay attention. 2 weeks later, I was in my Aurora Ventures office reviewing potential investments when my assistant announced that my parents were in the lobby. Should I send them up? Karen asked. I thought about it for a moment. I hadn't spoken to them since graduation day, though they'd sent several messages asking to meet. Yes, send them up. A few minutes later, my parents walked into my office overlooking Silicon Valley. I could see them taking in the environment, the modern furniture, the wall of windows, the conference room where I held meetings with Fortune 500 pharmaceutical companies. Alexandra, thank you for seeing us, Mom said, sitting down across from my desk. What did you want to discuss? Dad looked around the office. We wanted to see where you work. To understand what you've built. This is Aurora Ventures. We identify promising biotech companies and provide funding and expertise to help them develop treatments for diseases that affect millions of people. Can you tell us more about how it works? I studied their faces, looking for signs of genuine curiosity versus polite interest motivated by my wealth. We evaluate scientific research, assess market potential, and provide capital to companies working on breakthrough therapies. Our portfolio includes 12 companies working on treatments for everything from rare genetic disorders to more effective cancer therapies. Mom was taking notes. How do you decide which companies to invest in? We look at the quality of the science, the experience of the management team, the size of the patient population that could benefit from the treatment, and the regulatory pathway to approval. This sounds incredibly complex, Dad said. And incredibly important. It is both of those things. Alexandra, Mom set down her pen, we owe you an enormous apology. Not just for missing your graduation, but for years of not understanding what you were accomplishing. I appreciate that. But more than an apology, we owe you our attention and respect going forward. We want to understand your work, your goals, your life. Not because you have money, but because you're our daughter and we've been failing to see you clearly. I looked at my parents, people who had raised me, supported my education and encouraged my independence, but who had somehow failed to recognize my professional success until it was announced on live television. What does that look like practically? It looks like us asking better questions and listening to your answers, Dad said. It looks like celebrating your achievements instead of treating them as background noise. It looks like recognizing that your career matters as much as anyone else's in the family. And it looks like us understanding that Jessica's engagement party, while important to her, wasn't more important than your Stanford graduation, Mom added. We got our priorities completely backward. I thought about their words and their request for a second chance. If you're serious about rebuilding our relationship, here's what I need from you. I need you to be interested in my work because it matters to me, not because it's lucrative. I need you to celebrate my achievements when they happen, not months later when you accidentally discover them. And I need you to treat my career with the same respect you show for other family members' successes. We can do that, Dad said immediately. Can you? Because it's going to require changing years of habits and assumptions. We're committed to doing the work, Mom said. Alexandra, we've spent the last 2 weeks thinking about all the times we dismissed your achievements or failed to ask follow-up questions about your career. We're ashamed of how we've treated your success. I don't need you to be ashamed. I need you to be different going forward. Then that's what we'll do. Over the next hour, I found myself having the kind of conversation with my parents that I'd been hoping for since I'd started Aurora Ventures. They asked detailed questions about biotech investing, listened carefully to my explanations, and seemed genuinely interested in understanding the work I was passionate about. As they prepared to leave, Mom hugged me tightly. We're proud of you, Alexandra. Not because of the money or the donation, but because of the work you're doing to help people. We should have been saying that all along. Thank you. That means a lot. Will you have dinner with us next week? Dad asked. We'd like to hear more about the Aurora Institute and your plans for the research programs. I smiled. I'd like that. 6 months later, I was having Sunday dinner with my parents when Mom's phone buzzed with a notification. Oh, Jessica posted photos from her wedding planning meeting, she said, glancing at the screen. I waited to see if the conversation would immediately shift to Jessica's wedding details, as it would have in the past. Instead, Mom put her phone aside. She looks happy. But tell me more about the clinical trial results you mentioned. Did the gene therapy treatment show the improvements you were hoping for? And I knew that something had fundamentally changed in how my family saw me and valued my achievements. It had taken a very public $200 million donation to get their attention, but once they started paying attention, they discovered something they should have recognized years earlier: that I had been building something meaningful all along. The difference was that now they were choosing to see it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Anderson. I'm 28 years old and a nurse at Memorial Hospital, and this is the story of how my mother-in-law nearly destroyed my life. 2 years ago, I married Tom, the man I thought was my soulmate. We met in the ER when he came in with a minor injury from a construction site accident. He's an architect, you see. Our wedding was beautiful, despite his mother, Catherine, criticizing every detail. "Darling, you really should have chosen the other venue I suggested. This one's so modest," she had said, her smile dripping with condescension. It was one of many backhanded compliments to come. At first, life was good. Tom's career was taking off, and we bought a charming house just 20 minutes from the hospital. But Catherine, who lived just 10 minutes away, began showing up unannounced. "Oh, I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by. Tom works so hard, he needs proper care," she would say while casually inspecting my housekeeping. It was my best friend, Sarah, who first voiced what I was too exhausted to admit. "Julia, don't you think Catherine's getting a little too involved?" she asked over coffee one afternoon. Sarah, a lawyer with an analytical mind, picked up on things I tried to ignore. Tom's sister, Anne, would shoot me sympathetic looks at family dinners, but she never spoke up. Not when Catherine criticized my cooking. Not when she made passive-aggressive comments about my work schedule. "A wife should be home more," Catherine would say, knowing full well I worked long hospital shifts. Then she started interfering with our finances. "Tom, sweetheart, that investment I told you about, my friend's son tripled his money." The next thing I knew, Tom had drained our house renovation fund. Meanwhile, Catherine made sure we rarely saw my parents, conveniently scheduling urgent family gatherings on the same nights as my parents' Sunday dinners. "But it's my dad's birthday," I protested. "Mom's already planned something," Tom replied, avoiding my eyes. "You need to set boundaries," my mother warned me one evening when I managed to visit alone. "This isn't normal, honey." I started to see it then, the pattern, the control. But I wasn't prepared for how much worse it would get. One night, after a brutal family dinner where Catherine had torn apart everything from my career to my housekeeping, Anne found me crying in the kitchen. "I'm so sorry, Julia," she whispered. "She's always been like this. I wish I was braver, but—" Her voice trailed off as the sound of heels echoed down the hallway. "What are you girls whispering about?" Catherine appeared, her perfectly painted smile not reaching her eyes. "Tom's looking for you, Julia. He needs to discuss that charity gala donation I suggested." "We can't afford that right now," I started. "Nonsense," she said, waving a manicured hand. "Tom knows what's best for his career. Don't be so controlling, dear." I watched as my husband signed another check, right after telling me we had to postpone our vacation due to budget constraints. Sarah's words from earlier that week rang in my mind. "This isn't just about money, Julia. She's isolating you." Classic manipulation tactics. I wish I had truly listened then, because what came next was far worse. It started with a fever, a cough. Working in a hospital during flu season, I wasn't surprised when I got sick. But this was different. Within days, my condition worsened into severe pneumonia. "You need rest and these antibiotics," Dr. Martinez told me firmly. "Take them exactly as prescribed." That was the moment Catherine announced she was renovating her house and moved in with us. "Don't worry, dear. I'll take care of everything. You just rest." Too sick to fight back, I let exhaustion and medication pull me under. Time blurred. But one morning, as I reached for my pills, they were gone. "Those harsh chemicals will only make you weaker," Catherine tetted. "Here, drink this herbal tea. It's what I gave Tom when he was little." Panic gripped my chest. "But I need my prescription." My voice was barely a whisper. "I need my prescription." Catherine's expression didn't change. Instead, she sighed dramatically. "Nonsense. You're just being overly dramatic. A good wife powers through illness." Days blurred together. My chest felt like it was filled with concrete, every breath a struggle. Through the haze, I heard voices outside my room. Mom says she's just milking it for attention, Tom muttered. I've seen cases like this, Tom. Some women just aren't strong enough for marriage. Remember your cousin's wife? One night, my fever raged, my body burning and trembling under the blankets. That's when Catherine entered my room. She leaned in close, her voice a deadly whisper. Listen here, you pathetic little thing. You have 3 choices. Toughen up, die, or divorce my son. He deserves better than a weak wife who can't even handle a little cold. I tried calling out for Tom. No answer. He'd taken sleeping pills. Catherine's suggestion. Of course, to help him rest despite my constant coughing. Thank God for Sarah's daily check-ins. When I didn't respond for 24 hours, she used her spare key to get inside. Jesus Christ, Julia, her voice cut through the fog. Where are your meds? She's burning up. The next thing I knew, I was in the hospital. Familiar doctors and nurses hovered over me, their expressions grim. Severe pneumonia, dangerous progression. Where was the prescription? Sarah was there when I woke up properly. Her face was tight with fury. They found your pills, she told me, voice shaking. Hidden in Catherine's guest room, mixed in with her stuff. From the hallway, I heard Catherine's voice, smooth, measured, full of fake concern. My son's wife is clearly unstable, imagining things in her delirium. Tom, you need to consider your options, she added, her voice dripping with manipulation. And then, the final betrayal. Mom's right, Julia, Tom said, his voice dull. You're not thinking clearly. She's been taking care of you. I forced myself to sit up, every muscle screaming in protest. Taking care of me? My voice was raw. I almost died. See how hysterical she's being. Catherine cooed. Tom, darling, she's so unwell. Something inside me snapped. Get out, I rasped. They stared at me. Both of you, get out. Tom's face twisted in something like pain. You're choosing this drama over family. Family? I choked out a bitter laugh. She hid my medication. I could have died. Tom's jaw clenched. I won't let you talk about my mother that way. She only wants what's best. I turned to Sarah. Get me the discharge papers. I'm not staying here with them. As they wheeled me out, Catherine's sickly sweet voice followed. Poor thing. Having a mental breakdown. Good thing you have me, Tom. That was the day I moved in with Sarah. The day I realized the woman who had tried to kill me was still controlling my husband, and he couldn't or wouldn't see it. But living with Sarah cleared my head. As my strength returned, we started piecing together Catherine's web of manipulation. One night, Sarah pulled out a legal pad. Every incident, no matter how small, we need to document everything. My phone buzzed. A message from Anne. Can we meet? Somewhere private? There's something you need to know. We met at a cafe across town. Anne's hands trembled around her coffee cup. Dad's death, she whispered. It wasn't a heart attack like Mom claimed. I found his old medical records. He was perfectly healthy. Cold dread crawled up my spine. What are you saying? Anne swallowed hard. The night before he died, they fought. About her control. Next morning, he just didn't wake up. I stared at her, my blood turning to ice. The investigation was rushed. Mom knew the right people. More messages poured in. A former daughter-in-law of Catherine's reached out through social media. She pulled the same stunts with me. Natural remedies when I got sick after my baby. I barely survived. Another woman, once married to Catherine's nephew. She turned my husband against me too. 2 more, both previously married to Catherine's brothers. One had even been institutionalized after Catherine convinced everyone she was mentally unstable. Meanwhile, Catherine wasn't done with me yet. Your wife is unstable, emotionally manipulative, she told Tom's coworkers. Soon, they started avoiding me at social functions. Later, we discovered her little lunch dates with the partners' wives, spreading poison, planting doubt. Then Anne called one night, her voice shaking. She's been moving money around. I found Dad's original will. Tom's inheritance, she's been controlling it, making him dependent. Offshore accounts, hidden assets, decades of control. But despite everything, I threw myself into work. My colleagues knew the real me. They saw my dedication. Congratulations, Head Nurse Anderson. The promotion came through. My team celebrated in the break room, cutting into a cake someone had made. Then my phone rang. Tom, your wife's success reflects poorly on you, I heard Catherine say in the background. A husband should be the primary achiever. She's emasculating you. The next morning, a text from Tom. I want a divorce. Mom's lawyer will contact you. Sarah scanned the message. She's pushing him to file first. Makes you look like the guilty party. Then more revelations. She's been badmouthing you to the hospital board, Sarah said, trying to sabotage your promotion. She did the same with me, Anne admitted. Any time I showed independence, she tore me down. But watching what she did to you, I can't stay silent anymore. Then Tom's company launched an investigation. Catherine's networking had gone too far. She was no longer just the overbearing mother-in-law. She was a liability. But she wasn't done. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. The voice on the other end of the call was calm, measured. I was their family lawyer, the man said. I can't stay silent anymore. What happened to Mr. Peters? Catherine's involvement. I've carried this guilt too long. Anne sent more documents that evening. Bank statements, letters, evidence of a pattern spanning decades. Catherine hadn't just controlled people. She had controlled their futures, their finances, their very existence. The next day, she cornered me outside the hospital. Her voice was venom. You'll regret this. I met her gaze, unshaken. Your threats don't work anymore. She stepped closer. No one leaves my son. No one exposes my family. I smiled coldly. I'm not dying or divorcing on your terms. She didn't realize it yet, but her empire was already crumbling. And then it all unraveled, faster than anyone expected. Her attempt to transfer Tom's inheritance using forged signatures triggered an internal review. The bank manager's voice was sharp when he called her in. Mrs. Peters, these signatures don't match our records. That was all it took, a single spark to ignite the wildfire. Mark Davidson, a detective whose wife had suffered under Catherine's manipulation years ago, reopened the investigation into Tom's father's death. The toxicology report was buried, he told me. But I found it. Traces of an untraceable poison, similar to 3 other cases I've been tracking. Anne burst into my office one afternoon, her face pale, hands clutching a thick stack of papers. Insurance policies, she said, breathless. Mom's been running a scam for years. Taking out policies on family members. Collecting when they mysteriously got sick or died. The prestigious country club revoked her membership. Charity boards cut ties. Former friends crossed the street to avoid her. And then there was Tom. He showed up at Sarah's door, his face gaunt, shoulders slumped. I've been such a fool, he whispered. All these years, watching her destroy everyone. And I let her. I met his eyes, steady and firm. It's too late, Tom. I've moved on. Catherine's arrest made the local headlines. Insurance fraud. Financial manipulation. The investigation into her husband's death ongoing. At the sentencing, Sarah leaned in, whispering, 5 years minimum. All her assets frozen. I heard she ended up in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment on the wrong side of town. Her social circle reduced to suspicious neighbors who had Googled her name. Tom sent a letter through his therapist. I failed you. I failed everyone by enabling her. I'm getting help, but I know it doesn't change the past. Anne and I meet for coffee regularly now. She's thriving, running her own business, finally free. Sometimes I drive by her apartment, she admitted one afternoon. She just sits at the window, watching people live their lives. My promotion to director of nursing came with a corner office. That's where I met James, the new hospital administrator. No manipulation, no power plays, just genuine connection. Last week, I received the Healthcare Leadership Award. As I walked to the podium, I spotted Catherine standing in the back. Uninvited. Aged years in mere months. Success is the best revenge, I said in my speech. But healing is the greatest victory. James squeezed my hand. Sarah cheered from the audience. Anne beamed with pride. I heard Catherine slip out during the standing ovation. Back to her empty apartment, her empire reduced to silence. That night, surrounded by friends and love, I realized she hadn't broken me. She had revealed my strength. I didn't just survive. I thrived. Let her watch from her window as life moves on without her. Because my story isn't about her anymore. It's about rising above toxicity, breaking the cycle of abuse, choosing joy, Tom sent one final text. You deserve better. I'm glad you found it. He was right. I found myself, and that's worth more than revenge ever could be. What would you do if you discovered someone you loved had been manipulated into enabling abuse? Would you give them a second chance, like Tom wanted? Or would you stand firm and walk away like I did? Sometimes, love isn't enough when trust is shattered beyond repair. If my story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming toxic relationships and finding your strength. Together, we can help others recognize the warning signs of manipulation before it's too late. Stay strong. Stay true to yourself. Hi, I'm Ashley. You know those moments that shift the ground beneath you, where nothing is ever the same again? Mine happened in the delivery room. But let me back up. I'm a marketing executive at a tech firm. 3 years ago, I married Derek, a successful real estate agent. On paper, our life was perfect. Then I got pregnant. Ashley, dear, you really should be drinking my special pregnancy tea. It's a family tradition. Sandra, my mother-in-law, she had a habit of appearing unannounced ever since we shared the news. Every visit came with unsolicited advice wrapped in a thin veil of concern. Mom's right, Ashley. Why are you being so difficult? Karen, my sister-in-law, Sandra's ever-loyal shadow. They were a team, dissecting every decision I made. My diet, my exercise, even the nursery colors. Derek, he'd just stand there, wearing that same apologetic smile. They mean well, honey. It's just their way of showing they care. Maya, my best friend, saw right through it. Over our weekly coffee dates, decaf for me, she didn't hold back. Jazz, they're controlling your entire pregnancy. And Derek's letting them. I kept telling myself I could handle it, that it was easier to keep the peace. But as my due date loomed, the pressure mounted. Sandra insisted on being in the delivery room. I was there for all 3 of Karen's deliveries. It's tradition. I hesitated. Derek didn't. That look, the one that meant just give in, was all it took. Then the day came. 14 hours of labor, pain ripping through me, and Sandra, recording every moment on her phone. Smile, Ashley. This is a joyous occasion. Her voice felt like nails on glass. My body was breaking, and she was treating it like a spectacle. That's when I met Anna, my nurse, my lifeline. She saw my distress immediately. Mrs. Anderson, perhaps we should give Ashley some space. Sandra waved her off. Nonsense. Ashley needs family support. Another contraction. My fingers dug into the rails. A deep, guttural groan escaped me. And then, Mom's right. You're embarrassing us. Derek's voice, sharp, cold. Then his hand. The crack of skin against skin echoed through the room. Everything stopped. Anna gasped. Even Sandra lowered her phone. Maya, who had just walked in, froze, then dropped her coffee, the cup shattering against the tile. And then chaos. The emergency button. Security. Maya's voice, lethal with fury. Get them out. All of them. As they were dragged from the room, I caught Derek's expression. Not guilt. Not regret. Just anger. And that's when I knew nothing would ever be the same again. But it wasn't just the slap. It was the years of control, the manipulation, the silence. Through my tears, I made a promise to my unborn child. This wouldn't be our life. Derek had just given me everything I needed to change it. The next hour was a blur of activity. Anna, my nurse, carefully photographed my bruised cheek while another staff member documented my statement. We have security footage of the delivery room, she whispered, squeezing my hand. Don't worry about proof. In the corner, Maya was already making calls. Marcus, get here. Now, I don't care if you have to break every speed limit. My brother. My protector. He was on his way. 2 states away meant nothing. Beyond the door, Sandra's shrill voice cut through the air. It was just stress. You're making this into something it's not. The hospital administrator's voice was firm. Mrs. Anderson, your son committed assault in our delivery room. This is no longer a family matter. Derek tried to come back in 3 times. First, with flowers. Baby, I'm so sorry. You know I didn't mean it. Then, with tears. Please don't do this to our family. Finally, with threats. You're being hysterical. No one will believe you over me. Each time, security escorted him out. Maya filmed every attempt. Anna logged every word. Jennifer arrived before Marcus, my college roommate turned powerhouse family lawyer. She took one look at my face and switched into professional mode. The hospital is pressing charges no matter what you decide, but we need to talk about your options. She was laying out a legal strategy when Marcus burst in, still in his suit from the boardroom he had abandoned. His jaw was tight, his movements controlled. Where is he? His voice was dangerously calm. Jennifer stepped in. Your sister needs legal protection, not revenge. Marcus didn't argue. He started pacing, making calls. His company's legal team was already drafting documents. Meanwhile, Maya was gathering evidence. Old social media posts, carefully curated by Sandra, were now telling a much different story. Then Karen slipped in. Ashley, please, you're tearing our family apart. Derek's never been violent before. It was just the stress of becoming a father. Marcus turned, eyes sharp. The stress of becoming a father. He stepped between us. My sister is the one in labor. Get out. Maya's voice was cold. Before I show everyone the video of you laughing after he hit her. Security removed Karen as another contraction hit. Through the pain, I could hear Derek outside, performing for the nurses. I'm just so worried about my wife and baby. She's not thinking clearly. Anna checked my progress while Jennifer laid out our next steps. The hospital's report, the security footage, the witness statements, an ironclad case. But there was more than one way to destroy a man like Derek. Marcus nodded. His reputation is his career. By the time we're done, no one will buy a house from him. 2 weeks after Emma was born, our plan went into motion. The unedited hospital footage, Sandra's carefully cropped clips replaced with the full version, including Derek's threats, somehow found its way onto the real estate board's private server. Maya smirked. Right before his biggest listing presentation of the year, Marcus's tech team ensured the video landed in every board member's inbox. I was feeding Emma when my phone exploded with notifications. Karen had rushed to Derek's defense online, inadvertently confirming the video's authenticity. Within hours, local news picked up the story. Prominent realtor assaults wife during childbirth. And then came Sandra's final act. Emma's first checkup, the pediatrician's office. She ambushed us in the waiting room, eyes wild, voice shaking with fury. After everything we'd done for you, Derek built your perfect life. Anna, now a close friend, was working that day. She caught everything on video, including Sandra lunging for Emma's carrier. The police arrived just as Sandra shrieked, "You'll never survive without our family's connections." Marcus stepped forward, unshaken. "My sister's doing just fine. Your son is the one who should worry about survival." And for once, Sandra had no response. Derek's downfall wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was a quiet, inevitable collapse, one he never saw coming. His brokerage placed him on leave, citing the ongoing investigation. 3 major clients severed ties publicly. His once polished social media presence turned against him as old posts resurfaced. Subtle put-downs, controlling comments, the red flags we had all ignored. The final blow came from an unexpected source. His former assistant sent an email to his entire client list. If he hid his wife in a delivery room full of witnesses, imagine what happened behind closed doors. That night, as Emma slept beside me and Maya and Anna set dinner on the table, I felt peace. Not satisfaction, not triumph, just peace. Marcus and Jennifer arrived with legal updates, and in that moment I realized something profound. I hadn't just escaped Derek's family, I had built my own. 6 months later, we gathered in court one last time. Derek's lawyer looked beaten before the hearing even began. The video evidence, the witness testimonies, the documented pattern of abuse. There was no room for negotiation. Full custody granted to the mother, the judge declared. Supervised visitation only, pending completion of anger management and therapy. Derek sat there, his designer suit suddenly ill-fitting, his empire in ruins, his real estate license revoked. The family firm, hemorrhaging clients, his own sister, finally breaking ranks. Karen had visited me the week before, looking older, worn down by the truth. "I'm sorry, Ashley. I should have seen it sooner. She testified against him, recalling incidents she had ignored. One by one, the cracks shattered Sandra's perfect family narrative. As for Sandra, her social circle evaporated overnight. No more charity board positions. No more country club committees. Funny how quickly pillars of the community crumble when their foundations rot. Derek, he left the state, trying to rebuild. Sandra still sends cards to Emma. They go straight into the documentation file. Karen's new business is thriving, proof that cutting out toxicity helps everyone grow. And me? I'm raising my daughter in a home built on love, surrounded by people who value kindness over control. Emma will grow up knowing that a perfect family isn't measured by social media posts, but by respect and support. Watching her giggle in Marcus's arms, I smiled, a real, unforced smile. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't what you imagined. Sometimes it's better. What would you have done if your mother-in-law demanded you smile for social media while in active labor? And what should the consequences be for a man who assaults his wife during childbirth? Is losing his career and social standing enough, or should there be more?